Thank you for joining us all the way from Nashville today. I'm in Brisbane. Have you ever been to Australia before?
I've never been to Australia, and it is on my bucket list
It's
of
on the bucket
places
list.
to visit.
Australia would love you. And we do love you already. Even if you haven't been here, we still love you. Now I want to talk about the latest album, Canyon. I mean, what a beautiful picture it is. The idea of a canyon, which has been through so much, hasn't it? This
Yes,
canyon,
yes.
and yet in the midst of it, there's a source of water at the deepest parts. And I just love that picture for so many different ways. And you have managed to create a whole album around that one picture. And to
Mm.
me, before you get to, I'm just gonna talk about my experience with the album. To me, it is one of the most of all the albums that I've heard that have been released this year. This theme is so well executed throughout the entire album. You can listen to it from
Mm.
start to finish and have the theme of Canyon explored on every track. So thank you for that. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Oh, that
So
makes me so happy.
in your words, describe Canyon. Describe it for us.
Yeah, well, I mean, Tim, we've had a crazy last 2 years, and I've been on a journey of personal counseling. I was learning how to grieve some of the deepest wounds in my story. I am not one that is prone to sit in pain. I tend to run away from that. And what I was encountering in my own story as I kind of went to the deepest places of pain and learned to breathe there is I encountered the nearness and the tenderness and the kindness of God in some of my deepest wounds. And I was undone by that. And I started writing a record about that. Well, then went to the Grand Canyon for the first time in my life. Have you ever been?
No, I've been to a canyon just north of there in Utah. It's
Okay.
called Zion National Park.
Zion. Oh, yeah, that's
Similar kind of
beautiful.
vibe, but no, I have not been to the Grand Canyon.
But similar vibe. So you've seen it. I had never been to Zion or Grand Canyon in my life. And when the numbers were lower last summer, about a year ago, I got to go and we camped on the northern rim. We went down into the canyon, camped on the riverbanks and rafted the river. And I could not get over how much a canyon looks like what all of our hearts look like after this last 2 years. We have all sustained loss upon loss, and that's the canyon walls. They tell that story of years and years of loss and sorrow and pain. And at the very pit of the canyon, the river's running through. And I had this epiphany when I was down there that, as it turns out, there is a current of love, a current of living water that runs deeper than our deepest ache, sorrow, or pain. And that will carry us when we can't carry on anymore. And I rafted right out of that canyon and shoved a pile. I'd already written a pile of 35 songs. I pushed them all off of my desk and wrote Canyon. I couldn't get over it. I think for me, I had seen God's nearness on a personal level. And I sort of had this experience of the gospel being like this beautiful, necessary raindrop. And when I went to the Grand Canyon, I felt like God was saying, it is not a raindrop, it's the whole ocean. It's all the water, it's all the tears you cry. Like I'm in every single bit of it. I'm with you in every single bit.
Wow. It's stunning to me that like we hear of verses in the Bible, like where can I run to escape your presence? And even if I'm in like the darkest of the darkest places, you're still there. We hear it in the Bible, but it doesn't sink in to our hearts unless we go through a bit of trial, a bit of crisis in our lives. And I wouldn't wish crisis on anyone,
No.
but also I wouldn't take away the crisis from anyone who's been through something, because there's a richness there, and I feel like that's being explored in this album right
Oh,
from
yeah.
first track to last track. And I think that's incredible. You've really done it. You've nailed it. So thank you so much, personally. But
Absolutely.
I know I'm saying thank you on behalf of a lot of people. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. I think that's the beauty of the gospel. It's that backwards, upside down thing that the thing we think is going to kill us, you meet the presence of love there, and it actually is the thing that God can bring to life and cause healing and flourishing like we never knew. So I'm grateful that it's true.
I want to talk about some of the songs on the
Yeah.
album. All right. So we've got, I'll start with Gold because I heard this when I first heard this song. I didn't know that it was about someone, but I thought, I didn't know who it was about, but I thought, gee, there's a story there. What is this song? Who is it about? Where is it going with this?
I
Such an
love
amazing song.
it. Thank you. It is a song about my dad. His name is Brown Bannister. He's a producer and he's produced and worked with every single one of my records. And so it's his story, really. And then it's his story and my story kind of intersecting. And I am so grateful for him and for the man that he is. You hear it in the chorus of the song. He is one of the most humble men that I've ever met. But it's sort of our story of really through a journey of counseling, of finding our way back to each other. We had a lot of, he would say this if he was on here, but he was a workaholic for a lot of years and had a father who was very quiet, not a man of many words. And so he was much the same. And so it has been such a beautiful journey, kind of leaning into that and watching him completely transform and say, kids, I did not get this right. Like, but I have to offer you forgiveness, like repentance, and to just say, I am here now and I'm sorry that I missed so much of your childhood. And then also the love of Christ. I know that God has been with you this whole time. And so it has just been, Gold kind of tells that story in a subtle way, but it's one of the powerful stories in my life that I look back and I think, man, God is faithful and he can restore the years that the locusts have eaten.
It's so beautiful. Well done on that one. And you had all of your siblings, correct me if I'm wrong, you had all of your siblings
Yes.
sing on the song as well.
Yes, my sister. So there's five kids, and my sister, who's the youngest, there's girls on the ends and three boys in the middle. So my sister sings harmonies throughout, and then on the little oohs in that song,
Yeah,
it's all my siblings. So it was a,
man.
it was an amazing. It's been an amazing thing playing that for him. And
Yeah. I mean, my
anyway,
daughter is 8 years old, and she's written some songs for me. But it makes me feel pretty special. But I imagine your dad feels like a pretty special guy after the effort you've gone to in that one.
he
Um,
loves it.
I want to talk about your latest single. I don't want to miss it. How good is it?
Oh, thank you so much. I love that song so much. That's one of the first ones that I wrote when I got out of the Grand Canyon. And I just thought there is so, there in our country there's so much political division. It's a very tense, racially tense time, and I just thought there is so much noise. There's strangers hating strangers in the comment sections on YouTube and Instagram. This is very much the world that we live in, and I just thought with all of this noise, there's this beautiful verse in Zephaniah 3:17 that says that God rejoices over you with singing. And I just thought, if God is rejoicing over every single beating human heart, that is the song that I want to crank up and turn the volume up on. So, my hope for the song is that it makes people dance like they danced when they were a little kid and their parents were just watching them with this broad smile across their face. Because as it turns out, we are the object of God's affection. We are. And He delights over us, whether we're at our best, like we are crushing life and we are just like doing really great, or we're at our very worst. He is still there and we can breathe in the fact that we're beloved no matter where we are.
Wow, it's a song for the kitchen dancers. I tell you now, like,
Yes.
just get in there and dance with life. I had it cranked up so loud in my car. My daughter, once again, my daughter loves listening to songs on full ball, and that is
I
one of those
love
songs
it.
that just works so well, cranked up to 11. So thank you for that. It's a beautiful
Yes.
song. I think we've only
Absolutely.
got time for a little bit more, Ellie. So I just wanted to ask you, what is your, because I've got all my favorites. What is your favorite song on the album?
Oh, it's like picking children.
Pick
Um,
it. Come on. Like, you're on the
you
spot.
know, I think the one for me that wraps up like sort of that captures the heart of the whole record is probably Paradox. And I think it's track 5, but it is that whole upside down and backwards nature of the gospel that I thought for so long that the way to get closer to God was up, being better, doing better. And really, where I've encountered God has been in my lowest places, in my places where I've made mistakes, in places where my heart has broken. I've encountered Him there. And I think that song is very, very near and dear to my heart, and it's sort of in the center of the record, and it sort of carries the heartbeat of the record to me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I love the lyrics in that song, like point towards like almost like exactly what you said, like a shock that, hey, it's not actually about the highs and everything that we kind of make it about. It's about every single moment. And the low points are just as crucial as our high
Yeah.
points. And everything works together and God meets us in every single part of it. It's beautiful.
He meets us. I'll never forget being in the canyon. And I wrote this song with Natalie Hemby, who's an incredible singer-songwriter here in Nashville. But I was telling her, he told us when we were in the canyon, he said, you need to wake up in the middle of the night because there's going to be this thing when the moon sets behind the canyon wall called the rim effect. And he said, you'll actually be, I'd never heard of that before. I was like, what's the rim effect? So he
Yeah.
said, when the moon sets behind the canyon wall, you it will be the darkest place that you've ever been because you're over a mile into the surface of the earth
Wow.
and you're further away from the stars than you'll ever be. But because it is so dark, because there is no ambient light, the stars will shine brighter and they will appear closer than they have ever appeared before. And that is exactly what happened to him. I woke up in the middle of the night and it felt like those stars were right in front of my face. And that is what I've known to be true about the love of God. He's the light of the world. And I have encountered him so close, probably the closest in some of the deepest places and darkest places in my story. And I'm so grateful that when you encounter his presence like that there, that you're reminded that it never, or suffering never has the final word. It's never the end of the story.
Mm, that's really cool. That's cool. Everyone needs to listen to this album. Everyone needs to get it and just listen to it from start to finish because it is a remarkable piece of artwork. Thank you so much. And you're hitting the road. You're going on tour with Lauren
Yes.
Daigle as well. That's exciting stuff.
It is exciting stuff. She's a dear friend, and I'm just so grateful to get to play shows. Now, are y'all having shows where you are yet? Or
We
is live
kind of
music back?
have shows. It depends on the week.
Yeah, depends on the week. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's amazing how something being taken away for so long, you have such gratitude for that. So I'm really excited to play these songs. The song I'm the most excited to play live is a song called Sweet Ever After that I sing with Bear
Yes.
Reinhardt, who I wrote it with. That one is also, that and I Don't Want to Miss It are just like, I cannot wait to be in a room full of people dancing and singing that
Yeah.
song.
Any chance of getting Bear to sing along on that one, or is that?
You know what? This is a secret that I'll just tell since you're in Australia, but
Yeah, yeah.
he
We won't tell
is
anyone. We won't tell
he
anyone.
is going to be at my Ryman show on August 19th. He's going to
Very
be a
cool.
little special guest there, which I'm just so grateful for, honored to work with him, and he's a dear friend. We've toured with him a lot, so it'll be fun to have him there that night.
So cool. All right, hey Ellie, just before you go, would you like to just say introduce your new single for us on 96.5 in Brisbane? That would just be absolutely just spectacular.
Absolutely. Hey, y'all, this is Ellie Holcomb, and you're listening to my new single, I Don't Want to Miss It, on 96.5 Brisbane. No, I don't